Hello everybody, good afternoon, welcome to the United Stand, and first and foremost, Happy New Year to you all. Let's hope 2026 is going to be a big one for you and for Manchester United. You're very welcome back to the United Stand this year, and we're talking sacked. Enzo Maresca has been sacked by Chelsea. Does this pose the question that United should be following suit? INEOS seem to be quite obsessed about the Chelsea model. They like to buy young players. They like to follow that Chelsea format. Should they be following Chelsea's format of sacking a manager or removing a manager, let's be fair, at the first sign of trouble? Now, look, I tweeted this about half an hour ago. Chelsea don't mess about, do they, when they sense things are going wrong? They don't. They don't. They've sacked a lot of managers, but they have won the Champions League in the last 5 years. They've won the Premier League twice in the last 10 years. Things we can only dream about. However, there is a very important statement here to say at the very, very start. Chelsea do not mess around when things are going wrong. True. But it wasn't as simple as a sacking because Enzo Maresca wasn't happy at Chelsea and was talking to Man City as well. So Chelsea have taken action to remove somebody that is a problem for them, and Enzo Maresca has taken action to line up other options because he's not happy at Chelsea. I think that's very important to say here. Chelsea have taken action. I don't think Maresca was looking to go before the end of the season, but they have got rid of him. But more importantly, is this something that you can apply to Manchester United? Fundamentally, this would be very similar to Amorim saying, I can't work under this ownership. I'm not happy under this ownership. Well, he's not doing that, is he? Maybe that's something people aren't talking about here. Because yes, Chelsea won't mess about. They sense trouble. They remove the manager. He probably wants to go. But it's not the same as Manchester United because Ruben Amorim sat there in a situation that's worse than the one that Maresca's working in, and Maresca's talking to other clubs. So that's not something I've heard people talk about here. Like, should we sack Amorim? Should we be like Chelsea? Should we be more ruthless? Should Amorim actually be sat there happy? Because I think that Maresca has been very vocal publicly about the issues at Chelsea, and he has got nowhere near the issues that Amorim's got. So you have to look at it like that. It's not as simple as saying, should INEOS copy Chelsea? Yeah, Chelsea don't mess around when there's issues, and their issue is their manager's not happy and he's talking to Man City and they're probably not happy with him, so they part ways. But Man United have got a manager that is in a shit situation, being undermined all the time, and he's still sat there not looking to do anything. So the honest answer is INEOS will not copy Chelsea and Amorim will not copy Maresca. And that might be a hindrance to us moving forward as a football club because Maresca's ambitious. He's got himself out. Chelsea are ambitious. They've got rid of him. Man United, we've got a manager that isn't looking to move, isn't looking to, say he's unhappy, and an ownership that's not looking to remove him either. So the short answer is we're not Chelsea. And it was interesting because I saw what Simon Stone tweeted. It was like, act fast. Because Chelsea have acted fast. It's New Year's Day. I don't think anybody had Maresca as the next Premier League sacking. I think people were talking about slots. They were maybe talking about Amorim. Chelsea have acted fast. But it's a two-way street there. There are standards at Chelsea. They're not going to mess about when a manager's moaning publicly. But also, the manager is not going to stay at a club where he feels he's undermined. So I think some people are just missing the point of what has happened at Chelsea. Yes, there is an ownership that won't mess about and will protect their interests, but there is also a manager there that will do the same. We don't have that at Man United. We don't have a manager that is looking to, protect himself. He's sitting under the contract in bad circumstances, just trying to sort things out. And we don't have an ownership that is ruthless or, looking to make changes. So we're not Chelsea. In essence, we're not. Whether we should be, open the conversation, but the Chelsea situation is very, very different. Maresca is not happy and has forced himself out as much as Chelsea have forced him out. That's a two-way street there. That's a falling out. We've never had that. We've never had a manager that goes, I'm not happy with the way I'm being treated. Our manager always sits there and waits to be sacked, probably for the money. And as Ben Jacobs said this morning, which I really want to get into, he's going to get till the summer. He is going to get till the summer. So, look, honestly, if you want me to answer the question whether we should be acting like Chelsea, I don't like the way Chelsea act. I don't like. I did a video on That's Football. The funny thing is, we do sort of try to copy Chelsea. Like, Chelsea don't buy players over 25. And lo and behold, we don't really do it either. So we are taking bits of what Chelsea are all about, but I think that's a terrible way. You know, if I was Maresca, I wouldn't be happy at Chelsea anyway, because where's my experienced centre-back? Where's my experienced striker? That's why they're not challenging for titles. But look, as we go into 2026, I want to be very, very consistent this year, because maybe it got clouded last year. And I said it to you yesterday morning. The biggest problem at Manchester United is INEOS. I read all your comments on the evening show last night about how we fix this. The biggest problem is INEOS. They've allowed the Glazers to survive, and they are allowing the Glazers to stay. They are the biggest problem at Man United. They don't know what they're doing. Omar Barada doesn't know what he's doing. Jason Wilcox doesn't know what he's doing. My total frustration is aimed at them. Amorim, you can do what you bloody like. The players, you can do what you like, because proper ownership would remove them anyway. To me, the biggest problem at Man United is INEOS. And I find it funny, you know, sometimes I get sent clips and things like this of people, you know, oh, we've got to back Amorim, we've got to back Amorim, we've got to get back Amorim. And I'm like, I actually think you're really naive, because you're just focusing in on something that's actually quite granular. Like, the biggest problem at Manchester United is the ownership. We've been in this position for 10 years. More, actually, but 10 years of decline. It all goes back to decision-making at the top. So look, as we go into 2026, that's very much where my focus is going to be. That might bore you, but I don't like this ownership. I think they are going to kill this football club. I think they are killing this football club. And you know, maybe we do need to change the manager, maybe we don't need to change the manager, but ultimately, you're not making the decisions. I'm not making the decisions. I think in the main, most of you are competent. I'd like to think I'm competent, and I'd like to be making the decision, but I'm not in charge. The people who are in charge, I wouldn't trust them to go and get me a pint of milk. I just don't trust them at all. I think they're absolutely incompetent. So if you're expecting Man United's board to behave like Liverpool's board or Chelsea's board or Arsenal's board, you've got no chance. You know, you could argue that championship clubs are run better than us. So when it comes to comparing us to other clubs, there's no point. We are the biggest club in England and we behave like Everton. We are not a big club we are in stature, but not in behaviour. So I don't think it's relevant what Chelsea tried to do. As I said, Chelsea have won the Champions League in the last 5 years. They've won 2 Premier Leagues in the last decade. We're not that. So we're not going to behave like that. But sack the manager, change the manager. As I said, for me, I think some people who just lack the capacity to actually assess this great football club get lost in the sewers, really, arguing about Amorim, when actually the people who will make that decision, I don't trust. I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. So whatever Chelsea are doing is down to them. Just to pick up on a couple of things, because obviously now we're into the January transfer window. My main focus is, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? Ben Jacobs was saying again that if on the show this morning, if you've not seen it with Beth, if Ruben Amorim survives the festive period, which he has, there's a big expectation that he will see it through to the summer. And there was a very interesting comment that Ben said about Sir Jim Radcliffe and this squad being a Champions League squad, according to Sir Jim. Yet again, this is the incompetence of this guy. You know, why won't he sit in a room with somebody who knows anything about Man United? Because he'll get exposed. He'll get absolutely exposed. Doesn't know what he's on about at all. And it's terrifying. But the most important thing that can solve this problem potentially in the short term, because remember I said to you last night, the only way we're going to fix Man United is by removing the owners. I think that the best case scenario with the Glazers and INEOS is that we maybe win a domestic cup every now and again. We qualify for the Champions League every now and again. Pretty much the last 10 years. We have won the FA Cup. We have won the Carabao Cup. We have qualified for the Champions League. I think that's our ceiling. I don't think we're ever going above that under this ownership. I think the highlights of your future under this ownership will be Champions League qualification occasionally and a domestic cup. I think that's our limit. If you want to win Premier Leagues and you want to win Champions Leagues, then we need new owners. Are we going to get that? Probably not. So how do we get back in the Champions League and how do we win domestic cups? Well, you have to take advantage of the January transfer window, which is now open. Listening to what Ben Jacobs said this morning, it's the same old story. You know, the priorities are Elliot Anderson, who is clearly going to go to Man City. The priorities are Carlos Baleba, who, surprise, surprise, is the only player that wants to sign for United because nobody else wants him. Surprise, surprise, the priority is to wait until the summer and try and buy 2 priority signings. Yeah, try. Great. And what do we do now? And they might do nothing in January, or they might try and do something late in the window for a Conor Gallagher or someone like that. Oh, yeah, let's wait till the end of January. I mean, it's not like we've got really important games now. I mean, what frustrates me the most about the January transfer window and the failure every year is that it's open today. And we knew it was opening today 3 months ago. So when we're sat there with our players at the AFCON and all these injuries to Bruno and Mainu and De Ligt and Maguire, we've known about this for ages. So you'll get Ruben Amorim in his press conference tomorrow or after the game against Wolves, and he'll be talking about how many players we've got missing. And the club will be briefing journalists about how many players we've got missing. And fans will be going, oh, it's so hard with so many players missing. And then the intelligent people will go, but we knew about this months ago about the AFCON. And we've known about Bruno and Mainu being injured for weeks. And we've known about De Ligt and Maguire being injured for months. So the transfer window's open today. If you're moaning about lack of players, why would you not go today and get somebody in that helps you on Sunday, next Wednesday, the FA Cup, and then Arsenal and Man City? Oh, no. We want to moan about lack of players, but we don't want to do anything about it. We want to use that excuse and not spend money. We can't do that. You can't do that because the transfer window opens today. So if you'd gone and got Ruben Neves today, he could play on Sunday, he could play next Wednesday, he could play in the Cup. Oh, yeah, you haven't got an excuse anymore, have you? That's what makes me laugh about United, is that we never, ever in the January transfer window behave like a football club. Even when we bought Bruno, it was at the back end of the window. I remember that. I remember when we brought Bruno in and we were dropping points without him. So, you know what? There's one for your positivity people. If we're so great and we're so good and we're heading in the right direction and it's an excuse to have players out injured, why are they not bringing somebody in on the 1st of January and why are they waiting until the end of the window? I mean, what logic is there to wait until the end of the window when you've got games going on now and we've got loads of players missing? I mean, if we bring Conor Gallagher or Ruben Neves in at the end of the window, the question has to be, why didn't we bring them in at the start? Because we're actually missing Bruno and Mainu at the moment. You know, our midfield's been shit for 5 months. But no, because, and this is why we fail. Because if I was in charge, it would be today. If you were in charge, it would be today. But with this lot, it's always the end of the window or not at all. And how does that help you when you've got 5 or 6 games in January? It's baffling. Absolutely baffling. The window is open today. There are midfielders available today. And United are going, well, we want to moan about how many players we're missing, but we might do something at the end of January. And also, we might wait till the summer. And let's not forget, if you win the FA Cup, you're in the Europa League. We might not get in the Europa League through Premier League. So the FA Cup might be a passage into Europe. We play the FA Cup a week on Sunday. If we lose to Brighton because our midfield's shit, we could have had a midfielder in for that FA Cup game. So it absolutely baffles me. It absolutely baffles me how we're not hitting the window early when you've got big league games and an FA Cup game that will have a direct impact on what's achievable in May. Winning the FA Cup gets us into Europe. Winning games in January helps us stay in the top 6. And what are we doing? No, we won't do anything. So look, I'm going to be very, very consistent about this, and I apologise if I'm going to bore you. But beyond the chat about players and managers, my sole focus in 2026 is that we will achieve nothing with this ownership. And I'm tired, and I don't know whether you feel the same, I'm tired of ex-players, I'm tired of fans, I'm tired of the media, and I'm tired of our client journalists in press conferences never saying a bad word about Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, Sir Jim Radcliffe or Joel Glazer. It's an absolute smokescreen that gets shoved under the carpet for the last 18 months and I haven't got a bloody clue why. Are they on the payroll? I don't know. I don't know what our fan groups are doing. I don't know what our journalists are doing. I don't know what our ex-players are doing. I don't know what the media are doing, but they never talk about the real issues at Manchester United. It's always Amorim. It's always players. And I'm not saying Amorim's not a problem, and I'm not saying the players aren't a problem, but God, if you go to a restaurant and you keep getting served bad quality food, is it the restaurant owner or the chef's fault? It's the owner. He buys the fucking food. He recruits the chef. And we're constantly having a pop at the chef. And if the chef's not good enough, maybe he needs to go. But if the chef's saying, I'm not getting the ingredients, We don't talk about the owners enough, and that's why we fail, and that's why I think the Chelsea conversation is really interesting, because Chelsea don't mess about when things go wrong. That doesn't mean they sacked Maresca. What it means is Maresca has expressed his dissatisfaction publicly at how that club's being run, and Chelsea have acted. Man United won't act. Cowards. We've got cowards in charge, basically. And I'll stand by this in 2026 as well. They're not going to sack Amorim, not because they don't think he's good enough, but to protect themselves. They don't want. They're like the mate. INEOS are like the mate that is going out with someone and none of you think it's suitable. And you're all telling him it's a mistake. And he's like, no, I'm absolutely convinced this is the right person for me. And then a year later, you're down the pub, he's miserable, and he's going, you know what? I'm just so unhappy. And they're going, well, that's because you're in the wrong relationship. And then they refuse to end it because there's pride and stubborn. They don't want to get proven wrong. That's what we've got going on with INEOS at the moment. They are, Omar Barada is absolutely shit at his job. Jason Wilcox, absolutely shit at his job. Sir Jim Radcliffe, absolutely shit at their job. Everyone knows they're shit at their job. And if they sack Amorim, everyone really knows they're terrible. They're even worse. So they won't do it. It's self-preservation. That's all it is. That's all it is. And I'll tell you why I think that, because when Ben Jacobs said this on the morning show, I said at the beginning of the season that Sir Jim Radcliffe's belief is that the squad, as of now, when we ended the summer transfer window, is good enough to qualify for the Champions League. So Ben Jacobs is basically being told that Sir Jim Radcliffe thinks this squad is good enough to qualify for the Champions League, and he's thought that since the summer. Ha! What a load of bollocks. So the guy that's in charge of the football side of things at United thought at the end of the summer transfer window we were good enough to get in the Champions League. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the guy who's got your emotions in his hands for the next 12 months. That's the guy who's got the club you love in his hands. This guy who has destroyed Nice and is destroying Man United thought at the end of the summer transfer window we were good enough to get Champions League football. Now, let's not forget, that's not now. That's not today with his 2 points off fourth. That's at the start of the season where everybody didn't put us in the top four. Like, we did the polls. All the journalists did the polls. All the media did the polls. Nobody was putting Man United in the top four. But Sir Jim Radcliffe, the guy who is in charge of Man United and the football side of things, thought at the end of the summer transfer window we were a top four team, right? At the end of last season, it was Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea. What did he think he did over the summer that put us into that bracket? Nothing. This is a team that Le Mans' agent said the other day were planning on keeping Onana and bringing Le Mans in as a backup, right the way up until the last day of the window. This came in from Le Mans' agent. So it's not bullshit. The agent of our goalkeeper said the other day, Man United's plan was to stick with Onana and have Le Mans come in as an understudy. But that changed right at the end of the window. So this great football club, this amazing football club with such brilliant directors of football and CEO and owner, their plan was, up until the last day of the window, to go into the season with Onana in goal. And also, not only that, we were a top four team. This is the people who are in charge. And that came in from Le Mans' agent. Check it out. He said United's plan going into the season was to keep Onana and use Le Mans as an understudy. And yet Sir Jim Radcliffe, knowing that, was thinking we're a top four club. Onana. I'm telling you now, you'd do a better job at running the football club than these prats. But there's no way we're a top four club at the end of the summer. We didn't buy any midfielders. Bruno's playing in the midfield. Delo's a starter. We didn't, Onana was in goal or Biinda was in goal. There was nothing about us. Sesko came in late. At the start of this season, there was nothing about us that hinted that we were a Champions League club. Now, what's happened since then, put my hands up, incredibly crap win ratio, closer to 40% than 50%, but the rest of the clubs have been crap. Liverpool have been unprecedentedly crap. Chelsea are now crap. It has left an opportunity in a crap season for a crap team to get into the top five. I don't think Liverpool are very good and they're in the top four. So apart from Villa, Man City and Arsenal, I think everybody else is pretty crap this season. So we have got an opportunity of Champions League football. But there's no way Sir Jim Radcliffe's some sort of bloody Gandalf, Dumbledore, guy. He can't see the future and he's not magic. He's just lucky. But there's no way you can look at that Man United side in the summer and say we're a top 4 team. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that I didn't put us in the top 5 for the first time in my life. As I've never, it's the first time in the Premier League I've never put United in the top 4. So I think I said somewhere between 5th and 10th. So it's scary that the guy who is in charge of the football side of things at United thought we were a top 4 side at the start of the season without buying a midfielder, with Onana in goal. It's incredible. He's lifelong Man United fan, my arse. I just don't think he understands football at all. But this is what Sir Jim, Ben Jacobs said as well. I think Sir Jim Radcliffe's belief privately, even if he's not saying it publicly, is to double down on the fact that he thinks we're a Champions League squad, especially when you consider that top 4 is basically likely because of the coefficient rankings to be top 5. Man United are not floundering in the bottom half of the table. They're towards the top, but there's a kind of middle pack almost between about 5th and 15th. And that's why the next few weeks are really crucial, because the league table won't stay like this all season. So, I don't know how accurate that is coming in from Sir Jim Radcliffe, but it feels like he's saying, I think we're a Champions League side before the season starts, which is preposterous. And then halfway through the season now, he's going, well, at the end of the day, I'm not wrong. When you look at it, there's a big group of teams between 5th and 15th. And, we're in touching distance at the end of the day. But we're lucky. We're lucky to be in touching distance. If Liverpool had been anywhere near competent, they'd be miles away. And if Chelsea weren't sacking their manager and doing better, they'd be miles away. Top 5 would be gone. So we're very lucky to be in a top 5 race. Also, there's a lot of clubs behind us. And also, if we want to stay in a top 5 race, would you not use the last 5 months to use your head and go, why are we struggling this year? Oh, I know, we've got no midfield. So he's doubling down on us being a Champions League side. But he needs to remove his head from his arse and realise we're very lucky to be in a Champions League race at the moment. The only reason we're in a Champions League race at the moment is because 2 of the big teams are doing shit. And Newcastle as well. So 3 big teams that you'd expect to be in the top 4 race are doing crap. Chelsea, Liverpool and Newcastle. That's opened the door to us. We still can't walk in, but we're sort of at the door going, shall we, shall we, shall we? And then you have to analyse why United aren't taking that opportunity. Why is it we lost to Everton at home when we had an opportunity to go into top 4? Why did we draw to West Ham, Bournemouth and Wolves at home when we had an opportunity to go into the top 4? Because we're not good enough, Jim. We're not good enough. So if you're looking at this United side halfway through the season and thinking it's a Champions League team, maybe tell us why we're not in the top 4. Because you are incompetent, so's your CEO, so's your director of football, and you haven't dealt with the issues that were there in the summer. Every fan, when you kept Bruno and didn't buy a midfielder, said that midfield's not going to be good enough. And here we are in January, it's not good enough. We saw it on Monday night. It's not. Tuesday night, it's not good enough. And yet they're sat there going, oh, I think it is. I think it is. So, 10 men against Everton, as Chef's Life says. So look, ultimately, that is where we're at. I think this so much comes down to the January transfer window. And I think every problem at Man United goes back to the owners. Absolutely. They're in control of the January budget. They're in control of who gets sacked and who gets sold. And they are the people that are basically in charge with not ruining another year for us, Let me get into some of your comments. Do you realistically believe we'll make a good manager get us top 4 for us, given that nothing changes with ownership? Divian, you know what? This is why the importance of last night's video was really good, because I read a lot of your comments. Obviously, it was New Year's Eve. I know a lot of us were out and stuff. So we did this video about how do you fix this? Because, I'm not a big fan of just moaning for moaning's sake. There's every reason to be angry. There's every reason to be frustrated. Man United are on their arse, and it's not acceptable. And if you care about the club, you're not going to be happy. But how do you fix this? And as I said, honestly, I'd debate this with you, but I think there's at least there are 2 options. Sometimes there is no way back. There's 2 ways back. One of them is the one I want, which is the removal of INEOS and the Glazers. And you know what? How it happens, I don't know. But it needs to happen. If we want to win the Champions League or we want to win the Premier League again, it only happens with the Glazers removed. The second option is we try to do what we've done in the last 10 years with the Glazers, which is occasionally qualify for the Champions League and occasionally win a domestic trophy like an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. Now, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Because we won the FA Cup and we qualified for the Europa League with Ten Hag and people wanted him sacked, quite rightly. So that's about as good as it's going to get under the Glazers. But we're not even there now. We're not in, look at us at the moment. We're not winning domestic trophies and we're not in Europe. So it would be an improvement, but that's the ceiling of it. They're your two options. Remove the ownership and try and win Premier Leagues, or keep the ownership and just occasionally get into Europe and win a domestic trophy. I know what I'd like to do. But to do the second one, they need to be buying players. They need to be buying players, as simple as that. Emily Derry says, we are not a Champions League side until the end of the season. We're halfway through the season and already inconsistent and stop-start. We have to be proactive, not coasting on congratulations. You know what, Emily? You know what? I think one thing about this festive period is you do get a little bit of downtime to, read a little bit more and look a little bit more. And what surprises me, even after the draw against Wolves, where you've got fans at Old Trafford booing them, the life and soul of this football club, the fans that are actually home and away, booing United against Wolves, you've still got these hipsters out there saying that we're improving. You've still got these hipsters out there saying that we're progressing. You've still got these hipsters out there saying, stop moaning. And I'm sort of like, that's fine, respect, you're entitled to your opinion. But I'm glad I don't think like you. I'm so glad I don't think like you, because you've got no concept of what my standards are at Man United and what I know about Man United. If you think what we've done in the last 5 games at Old Trafford, lose to 10-men Everton and draw to Bournemouth, West Ham and Wolves, is progress just because we've got a few more points than last season, oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, PRV, performance is shit, results are shit, and there is no vision. So, if you're being positive at the moment about United, I think, wow. Are you doing it just because you want to be perceived as positive? Because, God, I'd love a pint of what you're drinking. What is it you see? The manager himself has said he's confused. He's starting with a back 4 against Newcastle, then he's starting the next game with a 3. His subs are strange, and the manager's not even giving you anything to be positive, and the owners certainly aren't, and the players certainly aren't. So what is it that you see that we should be positive about? I would love to know. Do Chelsea fans hate the ownership? Shocking decision, says Rory. This season we are not good enough given the context of the league. Sorry, Drip Football says this season we are good enough given the context of the league. If we had a better manager, we'd be in the top 4 comfortably. You know what, Drip Football? Comment of 2026. I'm amazingly, and you've been a member for 10 months, so thank you very much. But amazingly, that's the first time I've heard that. And it might have been said in the chat, but it's the first time I've seen it. If we had a better manager, would we already be in the top 4? If we had a better manager, would we have beaten Everton, beaten Wolves, beaten Bournemouth, and beaten West Ham? We'd have 9 more points. If we'd beaten Everton, Bournemouth, West Ham and Wolves, which we should have done, we'd have 9 more points. That's mad. Where would 9 more points put us in the league? Comfortably in the Champions League. So, I've never thought of it like that, but it's hard to say though, isn't it? It's hard to say because people say, well, if we'd beaten Forest and Spurs, but we didn't deserve to beat Forest and Spurs, and we didn't deserve to beat Everton. So it's hard to say that. But what I would say, Drip, is that we've had opportunities and missed them. Amorim is here to stay. He has committed all the possible sackable offences, but is still safe, says Ivan. There's no other offence he can commit except relegation. MT says, I thought ignoring the January transfer window was a Glazer thing, but still no different under INEOS. They literally just can't be asked. They basically are. They are INEOS, really. Thank you, MT. Emily Derry says, I don't know what is motivating Amorim at this point, but I'm not convinced by this squad or ownership, but Mr. Gullible's blind nephew can see that we're not making the Champions League without signings in January. Thank you, Emily. Patrick Lynch is in the house. Happy New Year, Patrick. He says, it hasn't been good enough from Amorim, but we are sat here last season and said maybe we should have given Ten Hag the season. Summer has better options, but until we mathematically can't get Europe, he won't be sacked. And I agree with that. which is why I talk about the ownership. I really do not see a manager coming into Man United now unless you can give me a big name that I'd go, wow. United don't do that though. So, yeah. Happy New Year. Can you call Peter a Pratt? Also, Pogba back, says Matthew. I think you're the Pratt. Sarvish says, we moan about Glazers when things go wrong, but when they assign new puppet manager, we go, let's give him 2 years. Why are we not Glazers? Why are we not Glazer enablers? Says Sarvish. Happy New Year, Mark. What's your take on Collier? Says Nick. I think Toby Collier is back at Manchester United because we are short in the midfield. I mean, this is a player that got moved on in the summer because Amorim didn't rate him. And now he's got injuries and he's bringing him back rather than signing a player. So I think that, in relation to Collier, it's not the most exciting thing in the world that he is coming back, considering where we were in the summer. But the messaging that comes out of Man United is just so confusing most of the time, isn't it? I just wanted to just double check something. This time last year, we had 22 points and we were in 14th place. We had 22 points and we were in 14th place. This year, we're on 30 points. We've got 8 points more and we're in 6th place. So there's your progress. It's just whether that progress is sufficient for you. For me, I don't think it's enough. Interestingly enough, 4th place last year was 35 points and 5th place was 32 points, whereas 5th place is 30 points this year. So there's definitely been an overall drop-off in the quality of the Premier League when you look at what it was taking to get into the top 4 last year. There's a 5-point drop on that one. Henry says, you've said that you don't want to sack another because it does not make things better. Has that changed for you? No, I've not said that for a while, Henry, no. I don't think things will get better by sacking a manager. But that doesn't mean a manager shouldn't be sacked. We are Manchester United, and as a Chelsea or any other club, you have to have... You can't just keep playing shit football and getting shit results. There has to be a point where you go, well, you deserved the sack. I said the same about Ten Hag. I didn't really want him to get sacked, but it got to a point where it felt inevitable. I just don't really, on principle, see the point in sacking a manager in season. I don't think it's going to massively help Chelsea, if I'm being honest with you, and that will be a good evidence point. I really don't think sacking a manager in January is a good idea. I think you should just try and get through to the end of the season because there will be better managers available. But it does worry me a little bit because although Chelsea look like they're going to go for a young, gullible manager that they can control, which is what we do, there are some good managers available in the summer. Happy New Year, Mark, from my family to yours, says Raoul. Happy New Year to all of you who are watching and your family. Would you like Maresca, says Pedon. No. No, I mean, I did a video on That's Football about Maresca, but at no point did I think, oh, I'd like him at Man United. No. Fair play to Maresca. He's done he's done an interesting job at Leicester and Chelsea, but I wouldn't want him anywhere near United. Enzo to be Man United manager next season, says Wesley. I hope not. Chelsea are £1 billion bottle job, says Rub. I'm sitting here watching United versus Chelsea 08-09 game. Where did it all go wrong, says Eso. Glazers. Chelsea fans, because we like you, we will give you Amorim for free. Heck, we'll even throw in Ten Hag as his assistant, says Chiri. Hope you're doing well, pal. Div has gifted a membership. Thank you very much. And Captain T1 says, according to ChatGPT, United were a mid-table team in 2025 on form, finished outside the top 50 across England, points returned closer to relegation. Shotgun Justice says, do you believe the ownership should be ousted aggressively, or is it a more prolonged effort over time? I mean, aggressive, I don't want to see, when we talk about aggression, I don't think, I don't want to see criminality and I don't want to see violence. But what we do know is that getting games cancelled made the Glazers shit themselves. When that Liverpool game got cancelled, they shit themselves. So is that aggressive to have games called off? Because, I think think some people get worried when you have these sort of conversations, but let's put it this way. If there was a poll about, do you want the next 3 home games to get called off and then the Glazers will be gone, I think we'd all vote yes. I just want them out. I want the Glazers out. I don't even know why somebody would question that or be guilty about that. What they've done to this football club, in a footballing sense, they should be doing prison time for. So I just want them out. I don't really care about... It won't happen anyway, so we can speak freely. I just want them out, and I want INEOS out, and I want proper owners. But who those owners would be, I don't know. I mean, I would. It's not, you know. Unfortunately, we've got one of the worst set of owners you could wish for in football. The grass may not be greener, but it would be hard to find somebody as bad as this, I think. Div, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. Thank you very much. And also, Nick says, I went to the game on Tuesday, my first game since 1998, and the lack of pace and legs in the team is alarming. Until this is sorted, we will always be a mid-table team. Well, you know what? Has anybody actually thought about this? Because I think this is a really interesting point. I was going to talk about it on the preview that we've got for Leeds at 8 o'clock tonight. So, look, by the way, 8 o'clock preview tonight will be going up, but I am on That's Football doing watch-alongs from 5:30 for Liverpool Leeds and then Man City Sunderland. But we've got the preview for Leeds coming out at 8. But I wanted to just say this, and really just, you know, it's not something I've spent a lot of time analysing because it's hard to get the data. We used to have the data in the first month of the season, and then the Premier League complained and it got switched off. Distance covered. But what I have noticed about United, and it's really funny because some of the hipsters in the summer were like, oh God, look at how lean Casemiro is. Oh, look at how lean Luke Shaw is. Oh, Amorim and his coaching staff, they've got the magic pill. You know, they've found a way to make us look so lean and fit. We've never been so lean and fit. And I've said this before. It's such a cliche that any manager that comes into any club always says these same things. I can't believe how unfit the players were. I've got them fitter than they've ever been. I look at United, right? We've been playing 1 game a week. Chelsea, Newcastle, Aston Villa, they're playing 2 games a week, right? At no point have I seen us play with the intensity of a Newcastle or an Aston Villa for longer than 5 or 10 minutes in a game. And in the second half of games, we look dead on our feet. And I'm somewhat puzzled by that because we train all week when they play 2 games. We're not fit. We're not quick, like Nick says. We're not quick. We're not intense for very long. We have picked up a lot of injuries as well. So I'm not surprised, but I'm somewhat querying how we were told in the summer this was going to be a huge advantage. We were going to be so intense. We were going to be so fit. Everybody's so lean. And here we are, halfway through the season. And I think we're so slow in games. I think we look tired in the second half. And we're still picking up injuries. And I'm sort of like, so what? Again, it's almost a question for the press conference. Why, to Amorim, when you're only playing 1 game a week, why are you picking up so many injuries again? And why does your team look so slow and tired compared to others? What's going on? Because I completely agree with you, Nick. And one of the big things from the watch along on Tuesday, I was reading the chat, I was watching the game, was how slow our tempo was. Why are we so slow? Why are we so slow and, you know, tired looking all the time? Remember Everton? Everton was December. Before this festive run of games, we played Everton straight after the international break against 10 men, and we were so slow and lethargic. And we're at Old Trafford playing against 10 men for over an hour, and we're so slow. We're so slow and you know, pragmatic and tired. And I'm like, I don't get that. I mean, look, are we killing them in training in the week? Are we absolutely rinsing them in the week so that they're tired at the weekend? I don't know. Are they not getting? Maybe when you're playing 2 games a week, you play at the weekend, you have a day off, you have a light training session, you play, you have a day off, you have a light training session, you play. Maybe we're playing 1 game a week and we're working hard in the week and the players aren't used to it. I don't know. But I think you make a great point, Nick. We are so slow and we look so tired and we don't look like we can. I watched Liverpool play with Brendan Rodgers 10 years ago. They weren't in Europe. and they smothered teams in the first half an hour. That's why they nearly won the league. They weren't in Europe, and they absolutely swamped teams in the first half an hour. We should be doing that every game. We've got no excuse not to be showing energy and intensity in the first half an hour. I really expected that this season. I really thought we're going to get so many early goals and we're going to win way more games than we have. I mean, a 40% win ratio. I was like, this is such an advantage to just be really aggressive and really intense in the first half an hour of every game, get early goals, get games won. And we haven't done it. I don't understand that at all. I really don't, because I've seen Chelsea do it when they weren't in Europe. I've seen Liverpool do it when they're not in Europe. We're not in Europe, and we're playing worse in some games than you'd expect. And the intensity's not there. I don't get it. Of course, it might not be fitness and intensity. It might just be camaraderie and system and footballing IQ. It's hard to look intense and swamp teams when everyone's not doing it collectively. Manchester United should sack their current manager because the evidence says the project has failed by Man United's own standards, according to ChatGPT, says Captain T1. Eddie Mack says, Happy New Year. Let's pray 26 is better. Happy New Year to you all as well. I would like us to brainstorm ideas to get the Glazers out and fix the problems. We're a big community. We have some power if it's used right, says Reese. The biggest problem you would ever have in removing the Glazers when you use a community like this is that other communities will instantly get their back up and start infighting. It's happened before. If you're going to unite this fan base, then certain groups have to lead on it. And I've said this before. If we start trying to run and lead it, we'll be seen as, online fans, and the argument will start between other fans and us, and then the Glazers win. So you need everybody together before you even start, and nobody's been able to do that ever. So, it's easy to say, right, United stand, we're going to get we're going to lead on this, let's get rid of them. And then you knock on their door and they go, fuck off, and they ridicule you, and then you're fighting with them, and then the Glazers win. So that's how the Glazers, that's what I said, that's what I mean. Nobody criticises the Glazers anymore. Nobody criticises INEOS anymore. And I think there's something sinister around that. I wonder what's going on. It's almost like they've got their little minions in place to stop it. Because no one talks about it. Happy New Year, Mark. Does the sacking of Maresca show the sheer stupidity of Sir Jim, who takes inspiration of running United based on Chelsea, says Rajaf? Well, yeah, I think you're right. Do you think giving every manager 2 years helps in removal of the Glazers, or just helps them stay in club longer and earn more, says Sarbesh? I don't think how long they give managers really matters to the Glazers, because they've sacked so many and the cycle continues. Trust the project. Elon Musk does projects. We do football, says Andy Bell. Thank you very much. Okay, well, look, thanks everyone for tuning in. I've just realised it's New Year's Day, which is obvious because I'm saying Happy New Year, but it's a bank holiday. So a lot of you probably watching films, recovering, etc. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. I am back on That's Football watching Liverpool Leeds at 5:30. We've got the preview for Leeds coming up. Well, I want to watch that game because I want to see... We need to win on Sunday, don't we? I mean, we played 2 days ago. Leeds are playing at Anfield tonight, and then they're playing at 12 o'clock against us on Sunday. So we should be a lot fitter than they are, but it depends how many players we've got back. I mean, if we haven't got anybody back for the Leeds game, that's going to be a very interesting game on Sunday night. I don't know if it's the slowness is a physical thing or a mental, because half against Newcastle we looked really dynamic compared to normal. What are your thoughts, says Bulbus? It's the light switch, isn't it? I think that's what you're saying. Bulb is the word. Sometimes the lights are on and sometimes the lights are off. Anyway, everybody, take care. Happy New Year, like I said. Some fantastic comments this afternoon, sorry. Do check out the interview with Ben Jacobs. I've only scratched the surface. There was a lot of stuff in there about Amorim and INEOS and the plans and transfers. That's on the homepage. Please do smash a like on the video. And remember, it's 2026. So make sure you subscribe, get involved with the United Stand. And I will speak to you all a little bit later. Take care. Thanks for watching.